I am here with Luke Hawx. Luke, I know you have a big show set for WrestleMania weekend. My first question in regards to that is, first off, how far out do you have to start planning for something like that on such a packed weekend?
Well, I'd say big is putting it delicately. It's more like it's huge, massive. As the Donald would say, it's huge. So I think it took us a long time. First off, thanks for having me on too. But yeah, it took a while to put it in because our goal was to try and do something different than any other show. A lot of the shows that this is only our second time doing a Mania show. The first time was a really small show when we just did it like during the day with WrestleCon, and that was what was Mania here 5 years ago. I think the last time I was in New Orleans,
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago, somewhere up in there, 4 or 5 years ago. So this time, like we were only around at 3 years at that point. So I didn't feel like we were ready to do a Mania show at that time. So this year when Mania got announced back in the day to come back, I was like, man, we got to go full steam ahead for a big Wildkat show, and we have to offer something no other promotion is offering. So, that's what I try and do in general with Wildkat, is not try to follow the trends of the markets that anybody else is doing, and trying to be different. So we were just, we were hitting it hard and trying to come up with ideas to do something different. And I think one of the biggest things, of course, I mean, I hate to say that I'm involved in it, but it's meaningful for me because it's a father-son tag match, international tag match, which has never been before. So I think that's like the big thing for me, is where I get to team with my son for the first time against Roy Knight, who is Paige's brother. It was awesome. And her nephew against Damien 666 and Bestia 666, who were massive stars in Mexico. So
So,
like that's just one of the little things we're doing.
what kind of hurdles do you face, like with scheduling and bringing in talent, things like that? That it's spread out a little more there. I mean, there are tons of people in town, but I mean, there are plenty that have other obligations as well.
Yeah, they do. There's not too much going on that day. That's why we wanted to run against on Thursday. So there is a Evolve show, which I think they got a few Evolve shows that weekend. There's also the what's the name of it, Wale Mania,
Yeah.
but that's just a podcast and a concert. So I'm sure they'll have some people there, but and that's actually starts a little later than our show. So our show will be over around 9, and we'll go from 6 to 9 p.m. and the WrestleCon Super Show starts at 9:30. So, and that'll be an awesome show as well. So we don't have really too much competition, but the key is trying to draw those outside fan bases that haven't seen a Wildkat event before. Like whereas we don't get a lot of internet love yet. Like some of the companies do, like Evolve and Ring of Honor and New Japan, who are all great companies. But you see some of these guys who get a lot of internet love, and we haven't really broke the mold with that yet. And I think the key for us is to try and spread the word and get people hooked on the Wildkat product while they're here. And not only that, it's like one thing we're doing is like we're the most affordable show in town, dude. You look at some of these tickets to some of these events, and they're crazy high. Front rows are well over $100, and general admissions I think is around 50, and our general admissions is only 25, and our front row is sold out. But I think second, third row we have a few left, and those are around $40. So like for the value, we got 10 big matches announced. Plus we'll have a few pre-show matches. A lot of stars on the show. We got Bob Holly. Besides the Wildkat guys, the Wildkat guys, like I said, we're trying to get. We have some superb talent as far as Wildkat guys go. But then, like, if you don't know Wildkat guys, you'll see some guys like Billy Gunn, Bob Holly, Jeff Cobb, Rachel Ellerin. Some of the indie darlings as well. Some of the big name guys, ex-WWE names as well.
Billy Gunn, who appeared in a big match for New Japan just last year, even.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of work with them in the future, but mostly tag stuff, I believe.
Is his son involved in wrestling now too? I see Austin
Yeah,
Gunn
he is.
mentioned here and there.
Yeah, he was just getting his feet wet, and then he got an injury. So he injured his knee, so he's still out. I think he's out about another 2 months maybe before he can get cleared to come back. But like from what I heard, he was like really, naturally picking it up because of his dad and kind of been around it his whole life. And Billy's got a few kids, and the others I don't think wanted to get into wrestling, but that's his son Austin did. And then like Billy was telling me that he was picking up really, really fast. So then he had the little knee injury. So I mean, it's something that's unavoidable. It happens in the business. It's not ballet. You know what I mean? So you can't really. You don't know when you're going to get injured. You can be in a year or 10 years, but eventually, probably one day, you will have some kind of injury in it. So hopefully, he makes a good, speedy recovery and gets back on track with it.
So I mean, a lot of people in wrestling that I've spoken to, they've said, oh, there's no way I would encourage my child to be in pro wrestling. You're tagging with yours. So how does that situation come about, and how did you feel about it?
It's a little crazy because on one hand, so my son is a phenomenal amateur wrestler, and honestly, I never thought he would get into amateur wrestling because he wasn't really active with sports at a young age. He didn't show any interest in playing them. He always loved wrestling and watched wrestling on TV, but there's a big difference between watching something on TV and participating. So when he didn't have any interest in sports at a young age, like I said, he played baseball a little bit, played some soccer, but didn't really, he didn't get a good feel for it, didn't enjoy it as much. So when he started amateur wrestling, I was like, oh man, that's going to be really hard for him, and I didn't think he was going to last in it. And he ended up his freshman year becoming a captain of the team. Like he came in and from right off the bat learned that it was going to be tough and it was going to be hard work, and he's just wanted to outwork the rest of the team, and that was a good good show of a sportsman. So he was busting his ass, and he sprouted up pretty quick, and he became captain of the team, and his goal was to really outwork me and be better than what I was. So and then as far as amateur was, I was never really good at a young age. I didn't have a good strong backbone and support team like he did. So he, and of course you want your kid to be better than you. So he worked his tail off and, got pretty good at it pretty quickly. And then I didn't push him to go into pro wrestling. It was just something he followed, and I wasn't going to tell him no. But I love watching him. I love watching how fast he picks things up. I love watching how natural he is at it. But at the same time, it's a little nerve-wracking because you know how dangerous it is. You know how much things hurt. Like being in the business, what really gets you going. And so sometimes I'm watching them, and it's tough to see your kid go through some of the pains and some of the hardships that pro wrestling has to, there's no way around, but that's part of the business. So I get excited, but I'm also naturally concerned as a parent. So it's like a double-edged sword.
Now, you also recently had an experience with WWE where they brought you in as a guest coach. What was that like, and how does that come about? I mean, it's obvious when doing any type of research on you that you've had at least some semblance of a good relationship with WWE over the past decade or so.
Yeah, we've been I've been having a good relationship. I started working with them in 2003 was the first time I wrestled for him, and we going back and forth and just had a really good relationship. And I'm fortunate enough to have that, and I built Wildkat, and they really enjoyed the things I do down here with Wildkat, and having the opportunities to get my guys opportunities up there and tryouts and be looked at is a great thing, obviously, because I think a lot of people's goal when they get into wrestling is to be WWE superstars. Nobody really comes in. Rarely they say they want to work the indies, Yeah. Nobody comes in with a goal of being an indie star, but some guys do. I have guys who come in and their goal is just to wrestle. I just want to wrestle anywhere and everywhere. And that's a very obtainable goal. So if you put the work in, that you never know how successful you can become at it. But that's a bit, when you come in and say you want to be, main event of WrestleMania and be the heavyweight champion, then you start getting a little unrealistic. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but of course, you set your goals, and I would say in levels, and I'm taking them one day at a time. And then, once you break that goal, you get to the next goal. But it's really good. I've been talking with them about coaching and doing some training since before last year, but schedules haven't worked out. So I do a lot of filming and a lot of travel, and obviously I still wrestle very actively pretty much every week somewhere, and a lot of travel. And so between films and wrestling, my schedule's been super tied up, and I actually got injured in January. So the first week of January, I had a pretty serious injury that put me down for a while. So I had a chance to go out there and do that then. It just worked out, so I'm happy for that. I mean, the injury was like a blessing for that, but you never want to be injured, and you never want to take time off, but I was kind of forced to. So that actually opened up the door for me to have some time off to be able to go do that.
So how does that work out? what exactly do they have you doing there? I mean, obviously, you can't be everywhere at once, and they've got a lot of things going on at once. So, what exactly do
No,
you do there?
they got several classes. So, they got some phenomenal trainers there, guys like Robbie Brookside and Carino and Sarah Del Rey. And, there's of course, like each class is a different level. They work on different things. Some guys do tag team. Some guys are just doing moves. Some guys, and then they have like the basic beginners class. So basically what I would do is float around with different classes every day. And just kind of assist or step in and give them my own version of things. And then in the afternoon, I would teach my own class. So whoever wanted to come to my class would come in the afternoon.
Now, my question is, does WWE really like you? Because every time they bring you in, they put you against the biggest sons of bitches they can find. I'm talking like Tomko, Heidenreich, Ezekiel, Kozlov, Big Show, Palumbo, too.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I never even thought of that. You're the first guy to point that out.
Like everybody they put you in there is like 275 and up.
Yeah, I guess that comes from me being trained by a big guy. Vic Grimes trained me, and he was over 400 pounds. So I've always worked well with big guys. So I had to become a big guy myself. I went from being 140 pounds to 220, 230 pounds. So my goal was that way, if I put on the weight, I won't have to work all those big guys anymore. I'd be the big guy. Maybe they throw me some small guys.
I was also curious. I remember that you had a little bit of a Ring of Honor run. I think it was in April of 2014. You won a couple matches. Why was there no follow-up there?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I never really chased it. And, I've had some offers from WWE, but to be honest, I do, I love them, but at this point in my career, it's hard for me to make a move, In the last few years since I built Wildkat, it's been hard for me to, I can't give up everything I'm doing. I've worked 7 years building my, my own company, and we got our own TV, and I've built my own stars, and, something that this area didn't offer before me. So, that was my goal, was to really build back up the southern area and the territory, and then kind of take it around, and that's what we've been doing. So, as far as me moving on, I can't really do it unless the offer would have to be stupid lucrative, you know what I mean? It would something I would never get offered probably. Nobody's going to offer me in the millions, and I'm not bragging, but I do extremely well on my own. Not only just wrestling, but my film business. So, I've been in over 80 films and TV shows. So just, I'm constantly working. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of work with films, with doing stunts and acting. So I can't give up my wrestling and my film life to go be, under somebody else's wing and not have any guarantees. You know what I mean? Because there's never really a guarantee. You can go somewhere, you can get released 6 months to a year later, or 2 years later, you can break your leg and get hurt. And, right now I make my own schedule. So, and I'm not one of those guys who actively pursue bookings. I'm not out, God, it sounds so egotistical to say, but I'm not out, emailing guys trying to get work. I'm fortunate enough to where I never really have to look for work. Work just finds me. So, and I'm been very happy with it. I'm able to pay my bills. I'm able to take care of my kids. I'm able to stay home and, take my kids to school or pick my kids up off the bus or, go to wrestling tournaments. And there's a lot I miss because I'm out wrestling and doing stuff too. But, I'm not on the road 300 days a year. So, and I've never really actively pursued trying to sign with a company. A lot of people, actually Joel Gertner was the one who gave me the catchphrase, the self-made man. Because I did it, every accomplishment I had, I did on my own. I've never really had a major contract, and I've always been able to do well and make a living. So, and I just do that through working. I try and let my work speak for itself. When you give me that, I'm going to do the best job I can possible. So some guys love that. And I think, I see so many guys out here hustling. I mean, I know because I get the messages for Wildkat. I get tons of emails, tons of messages on Facebook of guys just actively pursuing work. And I know there's so many guys out there flooding the market right now that it's really tough to find work. There's work, but everybody's got their own crews. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you can just walk in somewhere. Back in the what do you say, the early 90s, 80s, all that era, even the late, the early 2000s, if you were a good worker, you had a job somewhere. Now it's like the market's so flooded with good workers, everybody's actively pursuing things. And I'm just fortunate enough that I haven't had to like really chase work. So, and hopefully I never have to, you know what I mean?
Now you mentioned your work in films, and you've been in some big ones, most notably of late, Logan and the Fate of the Furious. How did you go about getting involved in that? Because I mean, I know this isn't a new thing to you. You've been involved in that for over a decade as well.
Right, right. Those actually I auditioned for both of those the same day, and the reason I got those was I had worked with some of the second unit directors and coordinators before, so each role has a description, and I just happened to fit the description for both of those roles. So they recommended that I audition for them. I was contacted by companies saying, "Hey, we got a recommendation for you to audition for these roles," and I actually filmed them at the same time at Wildkat, and ended up booking both of them, which was cool.
That is
So
quite the day, right?
yeah, well, especially when I didn't expect to get either one of them, because they're such big films. If you have any kind of role in that, they're not massive roles, but let's be real, to have small roles in those films are huge. So
Yeah,
I mean, they were like two of the largest movies of 2017. So
of course.
if you look at the Fate of the Furious credits, I'm like when the credits scroll, I'm like 500 Kurt Russell. So because the cast is so tight knit.
Yes.